Hello, fellow travelers. Well, the revolution is underway. I guess. I mean, I was excited since last summer, to be honest. For that time, we are in now. Actually, yesterday, the 25th of January, and naturally today's the 26th. As I'm recording, yesterday was when I was having my eye on already last summer with that shift of energy, and I guess everybody can feel it, and I will give you a little more details on what I mean. ARROKOTH. Those of you who have been following me for a longer time have heard me talk of ARROKOTH. I made even a video, at least one, on that theme a year or two ago. I forget exactly when it was. ARROKOTH is a super interesting little body. Actually, it is the farthest distant from Earth, closely inspected celestial body. And it so happened that in 2012, 13 around, when the New Horizon space probe was on its way out to inspect Pluto, that started in 2006 actually, that was when that space probe was launched. New Horizons, a beautiful name in itself, very meaningful. So a year or two before that space probe was visiting Pluto, astronomers said, well, let's see, maybe we can source another celestial body farther away along that kind of trajectory this space probe had. And yes, soon after, they actually found a few little bodies, and this one, Ultima Thule, they called it first, was the winner, and that shows you kind of the greater picture here of what we're looking at. So here we have the path of orbit of New Horizons here, coming from the from Earth, and then over the many years, 2006 was launched, 2015 it had its meeting with Pluto, and around that time, when the space probe was hanging out here between anywhere Uranus and Neptune here, they were zooming in on this body they just had discovered in 2014, which we now know as ARROKOTH. ARROKOTH is that peanut-shaped object, and it is not very big, but its repercussions have been huge of what has been found. New Horizons reveals full picture of ARROKOTH and how planets form. It really had scientists go over all their theories and rewrite the history of the early solar system. And that's one of the qualities this little planet has, as it was named after the Powhatan name for sky, or a man standing under the sky, or it's also debated if it could mean a cloud, but something which is big, which can be seen from many places, and which reveals the full picture and loops back to the beginning, as we now know. So it was on my mind. I mean, this object moves very slow, and I want to give you a few more here snippets of my research. So the conclusion, the scientific conclusion, after scientists analyzed their findings: ARROKOTH's smooth, lightly cratered surface is unlike that of other solar system bodies, and appears to date from the period of planetary accretion. So it goes really all the way back, that's what scientists understand, to the beginning of when all these dust particles were starting to accrete and form into planets. The alignment of its two lobes constrains the process that formed this contact binary. Because its orbit, albedo, color and rotation are typical for other Kuiper Belt objects, ARROKOTH can likely be used to understand the cold classical belt as a whole. So it is an archetype of its own. I mean, it's quite amazing how these celestial bodies present themselves, come into the viewfinder of that particular astronomer who has a resonance with that body, and naturally that has to be so, because the one who discovers a body is the one who is by protocol the one who will be able to give it a name. So this is there's an interesting connection there. So anyway, ARROKOTH, a man standing under the open sky, seeing the whole picture, putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. That's exactly where we are in this bigger game of what we are experiencing here on planet Earth. Now ARROKOTH is here. (20°45) to be exact. I don't know why it says 44. Let me just quickly see. Well, it doesn't really matter so much. I mean, it's pretty accurate. It's just a few seconds off probably. I'm now really wanting to get to the bottom of that 1 sec. It just takes half a minute or so, and you can see how I can do that. What a wonderful program this is, really. Solar Fire. Just make a little PR here. Not making any money on it, by the way. It's just my astrology program. So I go to Dynamic and I say Animate Chart. And then let me just make it a bit smaller so you all can see what I'm doing here. So you see it says 2044. Now the mark I'm after is 2045. So let's just go second by second. I might just be a few seconds off here. Okay, a little more. Let's go a bit faster. Yeah, here we go. Okay, let's go back 44, 45. Here you see it, 2045. So we were just a few seconds off. So 29:35, that would be the exact time of the ingress into Hexagram 61. Now again 7:29:35. Let's just quickly change that here too. Yeah, you see I was 9 seconds off for some strange reason, which wouldn't really matter, but I mean, why not get it most exact? And then we say redraw, and then we have the exact figure 2045. So yes, for those of you who are new here, I'm going to quickly zoom back to this image here, which is the zodiac and the overlaying 64 hexagrams. This is the Human Design Systems teaching. Powerful overlay of the 64 hexagrams, which is actually the original order of Fu Si. It's quite intricate. Once you go deeper into it, I will offer a course at some point to get an introduction for those interested. So we have here hexagram 61 starting at 20°45 Capricorn, leading into this segment of Capricorn which brings clarity. Now if we zoom in on that, I can show you it is already in the hexagram's appearance 61. It's a bit hard to see, but you see we have two male yang lines at the bottom and two male yang lines at the top, and these two female receptive lines at the center. So in itself it's a symmetric hexagram, and it almost asks us to zoom in on the center, on what is essential. That is what this is all about, seeing what really matters, blocking all the noise out and reducing it to the pure pristine message. And this so much resonates with Arrokoth's nature, that it was to be expected that this shift would be the beginning of the breakthrough. Again, that was last summer when I was looking at this first time. So here we now have the chart for Greenwich for that moment when Arrokoth from Earth's point of view was crossing that mark. And naturally, Arrokoth is a very slow moving object. It entered Capricorn in 2005, so has for 22 years has moved that much terrain here. Naturally, Arrokoth will go a little farther ahead and then go back again in waves, as this is the reflection of Earth's own motion. So there will be a few times when it will go back into the former energetic environment, which is 54, the marrying maiden, which is that very convoluted field of Capricorn, where creation is at its most intense, where the yin and the yang embrace each other and deeply intertwined create new forms, new ideas. It's like a spinning black hole creating new worlds, one could even say. So there's a definite shift here in energy, which we all have been feeling, and Arrokoth is definitely at the cutting edge of that. Now this chart, let's just first look only into this chart, and you see it is a powerful chart with the North Node, Ceres and Sedna, which I mentioned in my last video, which is really the intensity of the moment, of zooming in on all that things which have gone wrong, on the abuse and the lies which have been dished out. Ceres very adamant to get to the bottom of it, but also very directly involved in it. It is all that uncertainty about supply chains, which here comes very strongly in Taurus, which is the energy which feeds us, which keeps us going as a physical being. So this is very real, very down to earth. And with the nodes changing into Taurus, that is just a week ago. Time moves so fast, so much happens in these 7 days. Again, you remember I said mid-January till mid-February, that's really the hot period we want to be prepared for, and we are now right there. So all that shadow energy, it's like a flashlight is shone on it, and everybody has to see it. It's literally so that we have to see, and when I'm speaking of the collective level, it is certainly as true on the individual level what we see happening here. I have experienced it myself yesterday. It was actually quite amazing. I had a dentist appointment and I got really bad news about my teeth, so I am still processing that. And yes, anyway, this just shows the nature of this energy, which opens closets and things we have not really wanting to recognize. We now have to deal with it and get to the bottom of it. That's kind of the energy we see here. I just wanted to show you also the discovery chart of ARROKOTH and see how this resonates. So this dates back to June 26, 2014, and that was the first image which was taken of that part of the sky. They usually take a whole sequence. There were taken 10 frames within a few hours, and then that is fed into computers to analyze it, and whichever little dot on those plates is moving ever so slightly from one position to the next, then you have found something which is not a star, not a background star, but a planet. Planet meaning a moving body, something which has a dynamic in reference to the stars, which are, as they say, fixed, which is not absolutely true, but they appear so because they move so extremely slowly against our position where we are that they seem unmoving. So this is the discovery chart, the first shot, and we see here 21 Gemini rising with the moon and Mercury here very close at the ascendant, a late balsamic moon, which is prophetic, which is the energy of wisdom, with Mercury here in Gemini, Mercury retrograde, ready to change its position, its opinion. That's the beauty about the retrogrades. They open the doors for us to go back and sift through what has happened and realign with reality. As Mercury, when it goes forward, moves so fast that it loses contact a bit, gets a bit too what's the word here? Losing contact with reality, I guess that's the best way to say it. And the retrograde always is a period of readjustment, and we happen to be in such a period right now. Just want to throw this in. As you all know, Mercury and Venus both, this is from yesterday again, just quickly referencing here, Mercury is still retrograde till the 4th of February and will station here in the 26th, 27th degree. As is Venus still retrograde for 4 more days into the 29th. So Venus and Mercury represent thinking and feeling, and when they both are retrograde, this is a sign of a crisis, you could say, of a personal and a collective crisis. Naturally, most of the time these crises are not that deep and serious, but when both together move backwards, that's always a special time, and there must be something bigger than just personal karma undoing itself. It is more of a collective thing, and this time in particular it certainly is so. So in other words, it's just a few more days. Venus goes backwards and another week or so for Mercury. So we're getting to the tail end of this process of regrouping, realigning, figuring out what should be done better, what we have seen from the wrong angle, all these things. And by the way, Mercury and Venus now are both back in Capricorn. Sometimes words don't want to come out. Anyway, back in Capricorn. So it is that dealing with reality, with feet to the ground, themes which are about survival and about structure. So it is the big difference between Aquarius and Capricorn energy. Capricorn is naturally way more rooted, solid, down to earth and realistic. Now, did this not come out of the left field, that whole trucker convoy thing? It's really a beautiful confirmation actually to what I have said all along, that this would be the uprising, that the revolution was just in its footsteps, in its initial steps, and yeah, it was really amazing to see how all of a sudden this grassroots movement, and just think, I mean, truckers are a powerful segment of our population because they are not university educated. They have one layer less of conditioning. They are free spirits. They are road warriors already. We knew that, and they now just prove their mettle. And it already has avalanched out, you could say, and in other countries, in Australia they're now planning to do it, in the US, in all different states, they are rolling in the thousands towards the Canadian border to help us, to give us backing. In Brazil, I just read a couple hours ago, they have started copying this Canadian initiative, and it's really makes me proud as a Canadian to see that something truly is happening here. So this is that earth energy. You see it here in this earth trine AW Theories, which I mentioned several times. This is that spirit of caring for those who need our protection. Theorize the mother bear's fierceness coming if someone is needing protection. AW 197, that stealth fighter who gets behind the front lines, does all the spying, and then using that intelligence to receive whatever the plot is in a way that it can be turned around, twisted around. That's that kind of energy, which is certainly strongly highlighted by Jupiter right now. This is really the breakthrough we are seeing here. Then that perfect trine to Quaoar and Pholus here, which is yet another story which I will get deeper into. That is a pair of smaller planets, which is just about the first time coming into an exact conjunction by February 22nd, and then we'll have 35 exact conjunctions, and you won't believe, into the year 2061. Quite remarkable, these two, how they all of a sudden stick together. Pholus has a much shorter orbit around the sun in the range of, I guess if I'm right, 100 or 90 years, and Quaoar in the range of 280 years. But the thing is that Pholus is here at its farthest point. It has a highly elliptical orbit, so it moves at the same pace pretty much as Quaoar for more than 50 years. From here, from actually late Sag into early Pisces, where they will be departing again from close orbs by 2065 around. So this is a remarkable combination of energies. Quaoar is creative potential, thinking out of the box. Quaoar is one of those few celestial bodies which are not in a resonance with other planets, so it's kind of really that free spirit energy. Quaoar also is at first something unpleasant, something difficult, and if we just go right through it, then it opens the doors to some quite amazing, bigger possibilities. Pholus is the seer amongst the Centaur planets. Pholus is a great force of change. When it's activated, that's usually when we finally decide to do the right thing, go ahead with something we had been kind of procrastinating for a long time. And Mars and Venus are there, right, kind of embracing those two. And the third leg here is TX 300, 2002 discovered TX 300. And that made me really think of the truckers together with Uranus. That is that energy, bold, loud, big. Yeah, and the trucks are kind of the closest to a tank, and then they are strong machines, big equipment. You can't just come with a whatever a vehicle to pull them out of the way. Yeah, it's, you get the picture. They are they're an impact in itself. And there's an interesting twist there too with the truckers. My son-in-law is a trucker, so I have a very clear and direct insight into their world. They are, many of them at least, my grandson tells me, my son-in-law tells me, that are in a very good relationship with the police force, because they often have to do weighing of the drugs and make sure everything is according to code. So they develop a relationship with those people who represent the law. So police will be way more friendly to truckers because they have built a personal relationship. So there's that angle too. So our truckers are really our army at this point. And this is a war for those who are not yet seeing that. And this is now the first offensive in that sense. It's a very peaceful way, more in the way of Gandhi, of just sitting in front of the parliament and not allowing for traffic to flow. Yeah, and you can't just bring in a few vehicles to pull those people out or move them out of the way. Trucks are a statement, and I really like that TX 300 here in this perfect trine. It kind of shows that energy. And also Vesta is here. We shouldn't forget Vesta. Vesta is that focused intention, doing the right thing, the flame of light, the spiritual fire which keeps us going, doing the right thing. So there's lots and lots of earth energy in this chart which we need. And yeah, I just even look at all these many minor planets here. As I said, Pholus Quaoar as one pair which will be having their first meeting, as I said, February the 22nd, but have been definitely within close orb already for years. And the other pair is Hylanum and ARROKOTH, and I will also get deeper into these two in my next video. I don't want to do too much here, but I want to point out a couple more things. This ingress chart of ARROKOTH into inner truth, where that resonance naturally happens, also has the part of fortune here at 10 degrees Gemini, and you see that's pretty much the same degrees the part of fortune is here in the discovery chart in that first frame. So there's quite some resonance also with Neptune here. Neptune and Nessus being very high in this discovery chart, which already say that there's lots of light shed on the pathological nature of what's going wrong, what's out of touch, what needs an overhaul, what has to be reformatted, and also Neptune and Chiron. So it shows that spotlight on what has to be dealt with, all the deceptions and all the deeper societal problems with Chiron here in Pisces. By the way, when Arrokoth was discovered, it was here at 10 degrees Capricorn, in close contact here with Pluto. Naturally, if it's because it's just the elongation of that that trajectory. So Pluto and Arrokoth, that's already a powerful team, not just pulling the curtain away, unveiling what has gone wrong, but also that powerful energy of transformation which Pluto holds. Okiroi here too. Okiroi, always an amplifier. So this is the kind of the discovery chart which gives away the basic nature of that new body which we see here. That's the moment or the foundation of this discovery. And again, that Pluto, that moon Mercury here in Gemini, together with the sun in Cancer. Cancer wants to go to the bottom of something, unveil its source. So that very much makes sense, going back to the beginning of a story. What went wrong? Why have we ended up at this point where we are? All these questions, turning all the stones over. That's the key signature of this Arrokoth body. Small, but oh gosh, really a powerful force. So if we look at the heliocentric chart for that moment, for a little while here, that is again yesterday when Arrokoth was exactly 12:45 as seen from Earth. It's a little lagging behind here in the heliocentric because of the different perspective, but it is always interesting to read that background energy. What stands out is that Venus-Mercury conjunction in mid-Leo in perfect opposition to Saturn mid-Aquarius. That is very much in that same theme frame of the retrogrades Mercury and Venus are in, of that getting realistic and acknowledging what has gone wrong, seeing where corrections have to be made. Serious thinking is involved here. And Mars here at the bottom of the chart here, the T-square, that's is kind of showing that grassroots energy rising up from the bottom in the 4th house, caring for community, very much so. And I forgot to point out that important one here. So the moon at that moment was conjunct Hygeia. Nevertheless, Hygeia, which is about health, well-being, which shows kind of the central theme of this whole crisis we are in, and in opposition to Uranus, nevertheless, So this is really the chart of erupting people power, taking the driver's seat, taking the center stage. That is also showing here with BNR and the Black Moon. Yes, we are no more quiet. We are saying what is necessary to be heard. So again, this is just all very new. We will be in this frequency of ARROKOTH in that expressing through inner truth till later in fall. So this is that first wave, and it is also the beginning of that multi-year process. ARROKOTH will be in these degrees most likely till around 26, 27 for about 4-5 years. So yes, that's now. Let's have a quick look ahead into the next few days. So that is when Venus turns direct, stationary direct, when all of a sudden Venus comes again to a standstill and then starts moving forward from here anymore. Again, I should say. So what stands out here naturally is Jupiter rising. That's very loud, and also promises, breakthroughs, expansion, a new direction. What is also jumping into eye naturally is that Black Moon here at the 4th house cusp and in perfect square to Neptune. It shows that finally we're getting to zoom in on what's wrong. It's very similar to the other chart I showed you here with Sedna and Ceres. They hold a very similar frequency of putting the limelight where things are going wrong. This is another aspect of this, even more so with the Black Moon down here. Yeah, it will get more serious, that's for sure. I mean, serious in the sense of more and more people saying no, creating that healthy tension we need for a change in direction. Many people come to their senses. I heard it from at least 3 or 4 just in the last 2 days who have totally changed their perspective on what's going on as they start to learn more and see more different aspects of this complex issue. And this is just the start. So this is when Venus will come out of her retreat, getting traction and expressing whatever has been re-evaluated. And Venus, having been moving retrograde since December 19, it was bringing to everybody's personal field of experience the question of responsibility, of how much am I involved in this? Is it just about me, myself, my family, my tribe, my children, my grandchildren? So this was at the core of this quest, and I guess many have come to understand this is more just about making sure I get my income every month and keep my position, my salary and my whatever pension plan. It is way bigger than that. It's worth questioning all that in the light of what we have, which is revealing itself by the day, I should say. So Mercury here, in a few days, that is then when Venus turns direct, Mercury still moving retrograde, but here in a very narrow conjunction with Pluto and the part of fortune. Juno is here too, so this is a powerful team, and it shows that re-evaluation at the deep level. Mercury, Pluto is pushing us to think differently, to think in new ways, to see things in a much broader context. Juno, naturally, this is teamwork, working together, that whole V thing, which we now have, that wonderful truckers guild who is leading the way, who are strong, independent, sovereign beings who can. These are people who are sleeping every night in a different location. They're street smart, to say the least. They know their way around. They know how to maneuver these huge, heavy trucks through the roads, through difficult situations. So they're skilled people too. And again, they're not that much brainwashed as the PhDs are, which are usually the people who are deepest asleep. Sorry to say, it is my experience. Anyway, so you see, Mercury is here already having a very powerful moment of recalibration in its last few days of before turning direct, and here we have it, and that is then February 4, when Mercury is also choosing now to express outward again after having digested. And that doesn't mean that we can't express outward when these planets are retrograde, but it means we are still in the process of readjusting, realigning, and then when the moment comes of moving forward again, then we get the full expression of their new gained insights. And again, this chart interestingly shows that same configuration. I mean, the planets are slow, but what surprises is that the part of fortune is here again. The part of fortune, again, for those of you who are not familiar with it, that's a mirror point, and it's the mirror point between ascendant and the moon, and you lay an axis through that and mirror the sun over. So it is what naturally resonates with our inner being, our feeling, and who we are in this body. And again, this is the planetary fractal. Beautiful here also the moon in between of Neptune and Pallas. Neptune Pallas, that is also the energy of understanding, that energy of Neptune, of analyzing Neptune. Neptune is the big mystery, and also the one at the core of this MK Ultra experiment, which is perpetrated on the whole of population, and we have all these victims walking around in the streets. That's how we have to see it. These are all victims of abuse which need therapy and help and support. So anybody who's still under that spell, be kind, be understanding, but also be yourself, be fierce in the sense of being yourself, not fierce in a way of acting out, but just fiercely holding your space like a big truck. Just think of that. Here you come, rolling, and that's who you are, and you don't wiggle an inch from what you know is true. That's how we are. This is our responsibility, to be true to ourselves, and even more so now with the backing of all these planetary energies. It becomes more and more simple to do that. Beautiful too that Mercury turns direct here while the Sun and Saturn have their yearly meeting. This speaks of a serious situation we are dealing with, something which demands to be realistic and yeah, again, it is that energy of Saturn multiplied, of responsibility and doing the right thing, of being the one to ruling might be too big of a word, but to take control of the situation and to act accordingly to our conscience, to what we see. Interesting is that this Mercury station shows exactly the same configuration as then on the 22nd of February when Pholus and Quaoar will have their initial first conjunction, the 1st of 23, which, as I said, leads all the way up to the year 2061. So this is we are really making history here. We're laying foundations for many, many decades to come. And if I just zoom ahead already here, you see that's 1 month, pretty much exactly, one lunar cycle past where we were yesterday, where the moon was when Arrokoth entered that new territory. So there's a deep connection here again, different moments interlocking with each other. And yes, Uranus energy again here. And right in the middle of these two moments we have Uranus occultation, and this in itself is interesting, as Uranus is the planet who will be occulted for quite many times in the next year. Actually, each month when the moon will be in that area where Uranus is, Uranus will be disappearing for some time behind the moon. Just wanted to show you this. I have here, this is the one of February 7th. And what you see here is, this is where the planet is setting, and here is where it's rising. That's the horizon here, and this is during daylight, this is during twilight, the blue line, and the white line is during nighttime, when this can be observed, this spectacle in this area here on the 0 meridian. I found that pretty interesting. And if we zoom through here just quickly, again on the 0 meridian, that's the one of March 7. So this is building. You see this energy again on the 0 meridian, the April occultation, and then the May occultation is actually happening during daylight. That means nobody can really see it, but it is in that area where Australia is, so that will be interesting. And then you see there's every month it's going on, and then again Australia is in the limelight in June. So it is the year of the big fight, of the big confrontation. Next year will be the year of freedom. Those of you who are tuned into Magenta Pixie, she just did give us that feedback too. That was what the 9 said. 2022 is the big fight. 2023 is when we will have succeeded, when freedom is finally coming back to planet Earth. So it's worth going through that intense period and boots on the ground, do the right thing. So I guess I leave it for here, unless let me see if I have one more chart I wanted to throw in here. Mercury, we did that. That's the Uranus Occultation. Yes, I guess we leave it at that for now. And I will be back with my next video very soon. Okay, thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it. It's wonderful times to be alive, very intense, worth going through some trouble. Things look so much better at the other side, and we are right now in a place where we can see it already, that we will get there. It's no question. Thanks again. Talk to you soon.